Hey everybody, Dr. B 360. Let's get started. Today I want to make some comments on the concept of liquid handcuffs, and I'm going to present a real case to you. Some years back, early when I had started practicing addiction medicine, a woman walked into my office. I guess she had an appointment. She was in her late 30s, maybe 40, and I had known her from previous encounters in the sort of addiction circuit of Orange County. I don't recall where I had seen her before, but I didn't particularly like her. She was a heavy heroin addict with a tragic story, and she scored about a -5 on the agreeableness scale on the five-factor model. She was just simply mean, and she was somewhat vicious in her speech, condescending, and just rude. In any case, she came in on that day and I did see her. I don't even recall why she had come into my practice. I was particularly overjoyed and looking forward to the fact that she had this large buttock abscess almost all the way down to the bone. Don't ask me why, but the sheer exhilaration of having the opportunity of telling her, don't go to the hospital, I will take care of that too, and chronically cleaning out the pus, draining it, watching it heal, was really exhilarating to me and my ego. In addition, at that time, I thought I was the best addiction doctor in the world, and I probably still think that. And I was going to save the entire world. I didn't even care about getting paid. I just wanted a stab at being able to take care of her abscess, her more than likely bone infection that might be coming up in the near future, treat her with antibiotics, wash it out, and start her on Suboxone or MAT. As I spoke to this lady, I recall knowing certain things about her. She had multiple abscesses on her body, including a pelvic or buttock abscess that was probably down to the bone. It was pussing out, and she had a history of hepatitis C, multiple soft tissue infections, and I wondered about her endocarditis from previous infections. She had nowhere to inject drugs anymore. Track marks were all over her body, all of her veins were blown. I believe she was also polysubstance, and she had a very particularly tragic life. As a female, often the substance abuse history is a lot more complex and tragic, and we really don't serve them right. They are abused by law enforcement, by other people on the street, by family members. It's just a different situation for a female versus a male. So, again, in my own narcissism, I was excited about maybe I'll have an opportunity to treat her. I finished the interview, I finished the exam, and I was at that time thinking, okay, we will get started on Suboxone, but I got to make sure I have supplies, IV and IV supplies to be able to start treating this abscess. Childish, but even in my early 40s, I was quite looking forward to that. She stood up and she became quite disagreeable again. I had just finished telling her, you know, given your history of heroin addiction, and it was still heroin at that time, and given your multiple failures at treatment, you might be a very solid candidate for methadone, but we should go ahead and try and initiate Suboxone maintenance treatment first, and don't worry about the abscess, I'll take care of it. She looked at me with disdain, and she was looking down at me as if I'm an idiot. And she turned around and said, including methadone and Suboxone, she turned around and said, are you crazy? Do you think I am going to be tied down to the liquid handcuffs of your medication? Interestingly, again, I make pennies on the dollar. It's an office visit for somebody coming in and getting started on Suboxone. And I didn't even know how to charge for the extensive abscess washout, debridement, and antibiotic treatment I was planning on doing. Even on that first visit, it was probably a $1,500 bill. And she was telling me that she was not going to be enslaved by my liquid handcuffs, including Suboxone. I sort of sunk in my chair and realized, nah, she came in for other reasons, whatever it was, and I don't recall. But I remember really looking at her and wondering, how could somebody in the 21st century get it so wrong? And it wasn't coming out of some innate place on who she was. And it wasn't coming out of sheer stupidity. Here's a woman that essentially lost everything in her life. She had multiple abscesses and bone infections repeatedly that could kill her. I believe she had a history of endocarditis. I do know she had hepatitis C. She had been assaulted, abused, and traumatized in every which way you can think of. And she was standing there, about 105 pounds, thin as bones, high, arguing with me and thinking that she caught me because I was going to put her on something that she can't get off. The liquid handcuffs. I suspect she has passed away since then because I never saw her again. Maybe one more time, and maybe she hasn't. But I want you to think about this. That view is still prevalent across our society today. And it is so bizarre and so disconnected about the way a person is supposed to be looking at things. When you approach clinically anything, but we're talking about substance abuse, and in this case, opiate. When you're approaching opiate treatment, there's this bizarre idea that the goal should be to get you off of everything. And if you're on anything, I guess if some 12-step circles, then you are not sober. That idea is a construct. It has nothing to do with clinical thought about your health, thought about your mental health, thought about your social health, thought about your physical health, thought about your financial health. The goal of treatment is absolutely not to get you off of anything and everything. The goal of treatment is to make you well. And as a secondary offshoot and consequence of that primary goal in substance abuse, you want to get you off of illicit drugs. And the best way to do that and give you your physical health, your emotional, psychological, cognitive health, your mental health, your social health, your financial health, the ability to stay alive, live, grow, and prosper, is to put you on a different medication to be able to keep you off of that medication or illicit substance that is making you unhealthy. I'm hoping you are following the nuance of what I'm saying. The goal of substance abuse treatment, the goal of addiction care is not to get you off of things. That's a consequence. It just happens to be what needs to be done to get you physically healthy, emotionally healthy, psychologically healthy, and financially healthy so you can move on and grow. And how long you stay on that other medication, the substitute medication, is somewhat inconsequential and should not be a question if it means you need to be on it very long term. The point is you need to be physically healthy. And I was looking at her, and in that state of complete vulnerability as a female, as a human being, as somebody that had suffered 25 years since she was 15 or 14 of substance abuse, she still stood there, barely, staggering, somewhat confused, but quite strong in her delusionary convictions and her indictment of me. She wasn't going to let me put her on any kind of liquid or otherwise handcuffs. And that is the world we are in today. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to comment below. Peace.